Today's show is brought to you by Taplist.io, the digital beer menu system for homebrewers. With Taplist.io, you can create beautiful, professional quality TV menu board for your brews in minutes. You've probably seen these kinds of menus in bars and restaurants, and Taplist.io is the first pro-grade product to support homebrewers. Plug in a TV, pair the free app, and you're done. Taplist.io also has some sweet built-in integrations with Play-Doh Keg, Brewfather, and Brewer's Friend. We are no strangers to Taplist.io. We've been using it for years and have thoroughly enjoyed how easy it is for us to update all the beers on tap, whether it's at Todd's barn or at my pop's house. And I'm telling you, if Todd can figure out how to do this on his own, anybody can figure out how to do this on their own. So give it a try for free today on the web. Go to taplist.io. That's TAPLIST.io.
Entertaining shows with content that spreads information and sparks discourse throughout the community. This is the Pearl Media Network.
Transporting a fermenting batch? Does trub affect your hydrometer reading? Calibrating an electric system? And using a clean but unsanitized keg? This is Homebrew Happy Hour, episode 245. Hello and welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. This is the show where we supply the answers to your homebrewing questions and discuss all things related to craft beer. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page, or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. I am your host, Joshua Steuben. Today, I'm joined by the president and resident chief keg washer of kegconnection.com, Mr. Todd Burns. Sir, how are you doing today? I'm asking you. I'm breaking the rules. I'm asking you. How are you doing?
I can use Tap.io. So I love that ad you put in the front. That's not very nice at all. I don't think I like you anymore.
Let me fade out of our intro. Man, I didn't know. First off, that was supposed to be last week's bumper when y'all weren't going to be on. I apologize for doing that to you. And is someone there? Do I not have your attention? What is?
Yeah, I'm listening to your apology. Yeah, Vilver just brought me a tea. Do you mind if I grab the tea while you continue to spout on about whatever you're spouting on about?
Yeah, absolutely. So, welcome to the Homebrew Happy Hour. Welcome back, I should say. I apologize for last week's absence. It was, the week before I'd done the episode by myself and I went well. I appreciate everyone's feedback. I got real good feedback and the critical feedback was all very constructive. For the first time ever, my inbox didn't even have a single person even trolling me. You know, sometimes I feel like when I read some of the feedback emails, it's like, I don't think they're being serious. I think they're trying to rib me. But because we're not actually friends, the people who are sometimes ribbing me, it's hard to tell, like, wait, are they this mean or are they ribbing me like we're friends? But the feedback from the solo episode went great. You had a whole plane ride to listen to it and you didn't even listen to it. I didn't get any feedback from you.
I know I haven't listened to it. I should. You're right. I should have. I was watching movies and taking little naps and maybe having a cold beverage, and I didn't get a chance to listen to it. I apologize. No, but man, we had a great trip. It was a very, very nice trip.
Let's talk about the trip. Just a brief recap. First, was it productive? Because obviously, first and foremost, it was a business trip.
It was a business trip. Yeah. So it was kind of funny because, we're doing, I do weekly meetings now on Zoom ever since COVID started because we couldn't visit as much. So when we got there to do the meetings, we had set aside 4 days for the meetings and we only met for 2 days because, we covered everything in 2 days. So then Stefan Stefan is the person that runs the whole CMB Schankenlagen out of Germany. And he was basically said we had a kind of an entourage with us. We had a couple of old friends of mine, and then James. And then, of course, Stefan, so there wasn't enough room in the car. So he said, "Oh, Todd, take my BMW and I'll take my wife's car." So I got to drive on the Autobahn. We went to this really cool old, it's a Roman town, starts with an X, but I forgot the full name of it right now. It's the only town in Germany, I believe, that starts with an X. So it's easy to find. And we had a great day. That was fun. And that was considered work because Stefan was there.
Oh, yeah.
And we talked about CM Becker during that day. So I'd say we had 3 days of work. How about that?
Yeah, that's 3 more than I had when you were gone.
And then we went to Utrecht in the Netherlands, and we went to Amsterdam. Can't really talk about Amsterdam. What happens in Amsterdam stays in Amsterdam. So
you listen. Can I just say this, and then I'll drop it. You sent me a photo, James.
No, you can't say that.
Okay.
So anyway,
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, y'all had a great time. And I had a great time without y'all back here. I got sick and had that happen. So yeah, you know what you missed? You missed a real good time.
Well, you're probably okay. You were vaccinated, right?
You're trying to just rib on me. No, I was not. And it hit me. I did, friends. I got COVID. Had been training jujitsu, I imagine, sweating, receiving the sweat of another dude times 20 dudes any given class is probably where I got it from. It was hard explaining to my doc, like, so where was your exposure? So listen, scantily clad, cuddling on other guys, a lot of sweat. He's like, whoa, stop right there. You don't know. Okay, I'm not judgmental.
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. And, but yeah, dude, it hit me last Monday night. Can I just say, no one listening knows Vilver, or very few people listening know Vilver. Vilver is the second longest employed current employee.
Hang on. Anybody watching my video?
Oh, there we go. There's
Say
Vilver.
hi, Vilver.
Vilver, hola, señor. So he can't hear me because you have the headphones on. But that man, seriously, I don't want to be hyperbolic. So instead of just saying he saved my life, I'll say he is a saint, dude. He took such good care of me. He happened to be staying at the ranch with me in the barn, and I out of nowhere, I just got hit with a very, very high fever. I imagine it was a high fever. I didn't have a thermometer on me, and I didn't have any fever reducer on me, but I started just breaking out in bone shivers, the chills, and it out of nowhere. And then I started tripping. It was like I took something in Amsterdam or something. I was tripping bad, and Vilver was able to calm me down, and he took me to town to get some Tylenol, or he went inside and got Tylenol. He drove my car, and long story short, I'm thankful to be on the recovering end of it. The first couple days were just god awful. It was terrible. I have been accused by my father and my wife and my boss and a bunch of people that I'm kind of a sissy, especially when I get sick. But it hit hard. But anyway, I am glad to be over. That is why we didn't have an episode last week. I just couldn't do it. This week, I'm happy to be back and feeling like myself. I went for a walk earlier. I'm now 11 days separated from having my first symptoms. So, they told me I don't have to get a test. I probably should though, right? Just to make sure. Like I probably, they said 10 to 14 days is all I need to.
I think once you've gone that long, you're probably good. I mean, you're not going to come here for another week, so I don't care.
Right. That is true. I'm not coming up there not until, let's segue into something people actually care about. Next week, you and James are going to be in Denver because y'all are going to the Craft Brewers Conference.
We are going to the Craft Brewers Conference. I'm excited. It's the first time we've been to a trade show in a very long time. We're going to get to see a lot of vendors and a lot of customers we haven't seen in over a year, kind of like the trip to Germany. We hadn't seen our factory in over a year. So I'm very excited about it. Can't wait to see everybody and to kind of see what's new and exciting in the brewing world. This is not home brewing though. This is commercial. This is commercial breweries convention. So I think it'll be a good time. I do want to mention something on Taplist.io. You said in the beginning that we've used it for many years.
We have.
I have a very great friend and employee that gave me a giant TV to put over my keezer, and I have it running all the time. Thank you, Josh, for that.
You're welcome.
And it really is a cool program. I had some people staying in the barn the last few days, and it's kind of the first thing they noticed. They kind of walked in, looked around, and they were like, "Oh, wow. Are those all the beers you have on tap?" So we'll have to send maybe you could post a photo of it.
Yeah. Well, in the show notes, they can actually see your tap list. They can't see mine because I have to update it, but maybe I'll do that before I publish the episode. So go check the show notes, and the link for Todd's tap list will be there. One of my favorite things about Taplist.io is not just how easy it is to use as software, but how easy it is to share. You have basically your own dedicated URL from Taplist. So anytime Todd updates his list, if you still have that link, you go there and boom, it's always going to show you what is current on his tap. And I think that's smart because especially for small tap rooms. Go ahead.
If I update it. Yeah.
Well, you know what though? When you're on a kick, you're really on a kick. Like not just updating the names of it, but you'll actually go out and make the photos. And that's why it was a joke in the ad, but I'm being serious. Todd figured it out in an hour how to do it. And Todd is one of the least technological people I know in regards to using software. And come on, be honest with yourself.
The least? Really?
Well,
the least?
You're not as bad as my mom. Probably not as bad as.
Let's not start talking about your mom on the show.
You're probably not as bad as your mom. I can say that. You're definitely worse than your dad. Your dad's got you beat with technology. Yeah. But
anyway, it is a lot of fun, and one of the things that was also funny, we did the big contest, or I shouldn't say contest, the experiment where we brewed the 7 different beers using the 7 different hops from Hang 'em High. And those guys, when they looked at the beer list, because what we did, I'm sure a lot of you know because you've listened to the previous shows, but we brewed 7 beers and we did the exact same recipe, which was a pale ale. And then all we did was change the hops. So these guys walk in, they look at the thing, and they're like, "Wow, man, you really like pale ales, don't you?" Which I thought was pretty damn funny. So
yeah, well, if they're out of context, it's like, why does this guy have the same thing times 7?
Yeah, he just brewed all different pale ales. That's really strange. He likes pale ales a lot.
Yeah,
I like pale ales.
I like pale ale. I did that tap list myself. I like pale ale.
Anyway, so we have questions, right?
We do, yeah. And before we get to the questions, I do have one thing for it is we haven't done listener feedback in a couple weeks, so I wanted to bring that back. It's time for listener feedback. Listener feedback this week came from our buddy Shane, who used the voicemail, Todd's favorite means of listener feedback. So here is Shane.
Hey, Joshua. Just thought I'd point something out. You kind of missed killing 2 birds with 1 stone with your water carbonating. When you're making sparkling water, you take your water and you just add some ice to it in the keg and carbonate it. You get your water cooled down faster and you get it cool all the way to 32 degrees. So next time you're doing that, quick tip, put the ice in there, shake it up, good to go. Enjoy the show. Hope to hear from you guys, or hope to hear myself on the episode. Bye.
Shane, thank you so much. That was a great point. I took a question on the solo episode about sparkling water. Go figure. Low hanging fruit. I took an underhand softball pitch for a question, so I wouldn't mess it up too bad. And I still messed it up because I forgot to. I said, hey, the colder the water, the easier it is.
I've never thought to do that. That is an excellent idea.
Yeah,
I've always put it in the fridge and waited a day.
And that's what I did.
I feel like an absolute idiot now.
Thank you. I'm glad I'm not alone, because when he sent that and I first listened to it, I was like, wait, why didn't I think of that? And then I almost hesitated to put it on the episode because who knows how many tens of people listening are heard that, are hearing that now and going, yeah, obviously that's what I do. Why wouldn't you? Because ice is water. It's all the same difference. I didn't think about it at all. And I'm pretty sure I've done that before too, where trying to chill it down quicker, but that's great advice, Shane. And you're right. And, I did get a lot of
guys, don't do that with your beer.
Oh, no, I didn't say beer. I said water.
No, you did. I'm just saying we should tell people right now so we don't get an angry call. Don't do that with your beer. Yeah.
No. But fortunately, can you?
That was supposed to be a joke.
Yeah.
So.
I can't. Never mind. Let's just. Todd, I do have 4 questions for us for this week's episode. Our first question came from our buddy Ted, who used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Ted wrote, "Here's an odd question for the podcast. I'm going to brew with family when we visit them in November. The catch is that they live a 4-hour drive away from me. I'm planning on taking my own fermenting bucket so I can bring it back with me and then bottle the batch when it is ready. Do you think I'll have any issues transporting a fermenting batch? Would it be safer to let it ferment at their house and pick up my batch when it's done? Thanks, Ted."
No, next question. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say the most thing that stuck out to me on that is bottling the batch. Why bottling the batch, Ted? But kidding aside, here's my take on it, and then you correct me, Todd, if need be. If he is taking it within the first day or two, like they brew and then he's leaving the next day, that's still a time frame where oxygen is welcome into the mix to help out with the yeast to do its job, correct? So so the splashing that might occur in transit, even in the best of buckling up a bucket or trying to keep it still, the splashing that's gonna happen won't be detrimental because your yeast is still making use of that oxygen. Now,
well, even after those few days, it doesn't matter. I mean, once it's fermenting, and let's say he leaves 5 days later, then everything in his fermenter at that point is going to be CO2. So it's and a little bit of agitation. I shouldn't say everything's going to be CO2, but I don't think it would hurt. It might actually help the fermentation to agitate it a little bit. I mean, I agitate mine occasionally. I don't think he's going to have any problems. Now, maybe if he went down a 4-wheel drive trail, he might, but I think he'll be fine.
He did say he added, and P.S. I'm only going down 4-wheel drive trails. So
I'd have to think about it more then.
No, he didn't. I actually wrote him back already because I was so confident in the answer, just to tell him, don't overthink it. I think it's going to be fine. You'd have to wait. I think you'd have to be pretty violent of shaking for it to get super affected. And I can't imagine, any highway in the United States. But again, I don't know. There's some messed up roads in my area.
The interesting thing will be if it ferments really fast and he really likes the taste, he might have to take his future beers on a ride or warts with yeast on them on a ride to get the same flavor.
If this is his best batch ever, then in his brew notes, he's going to have to put, go for a 4-hour drive.
Yeah. There's a liquor that they put on a ship and it goes all the way around the world and out of Europe. And the reason is that the motion of the ship affects it. And there's also a company now that in California that's, I'm doing this all off memory. I read this like a month ago that they're actually burying their wine or putting their wine in the ocean and at the bottom of the ocean and then pulling it up later because it's totally dark and the agitation makes it better, faster, ages it faster, I guess.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
Huh. I wonder how they did, what point of their existence did they realize that, right? And then determine, because again, maybe Ted is onto something. Maybe Ted, I'm kind of being facetious, but what if you found like that specific 4-hour drive was just the kind of agitation you needed, going whatever miles per hour, 70 miles an hour is what you needed to make your best beer. And then this is on the side of his labels one day of Ted's beer. And it started in 2021 on a 4-hour drive, or I don't know. I do.
Sounds like marketing BS to me, but there's nothing wrong. That's what the wine thing is.
Yeah,
so.
It is, of course. Yeah, everything's marketing BS. I do appreciate, Ted, that you're brewing with family. I think that's an underutilized way to spend time with family. And I'm assuming, he said November. I'm assuming it's Thanksgiving. When I wrote back to him, I asked him, but he hasn't written back to me yet. He's probably like, dude, I just wanted the $25 gift card. I didn't want to make a new friend. But when, I have family that brews in San Antonio, and at family get-togethers, we usually is when we share our brews, but having a family brew day at a holiday actually sounds like something that'd be pretty fun. And for me, from San Antonio, that's nothing. That's a 45-minute drive from San Marcos. So I could bring back the bucket, or I could leave it there to ferment and, get it whenever I want. Like I imagine what Ted's doing. 4 hours is just far enough to not want to have to go back and get it. And he wants to enjoy it as soon as possible. If you were brewing, let's say you came, Todd, to my house in San Marcos. It's a 3-hour give or take drive, and we brewed. Are you patient enough to where you want me to do all the work, get it ready to keg and bring it to you? Or would you also want to take your portion with you and keep an eye on it? And then,
Well, I would much rather have you do all the work.
That's what I should, yeah. So Ted, you have till November. Why you want to do that to yourself? Why just let your family, you know what? If you're the brewer.
He's probably afraid they're going to screw it up.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, that'd be my fear if I left it. Never mind. What's the next question?
How dare you, Ted? Thank you so much for submitting your question. This is a good time to remind you, if and when we take your question or your voicemail for the listener feedback or all of the above, when we take it on a future episode, we do give you a $25 gift card to kegconnection.com. Thank you, Ted, for submitting that. Moving on to question number 2, came from our buddy Michael M., who also used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Michael wrote, "New brewer here. My friend is in your club and has convinced me to try brewing on my own as well as watching your show. I hope my question isn't too basic for you. When it comes time to take a hydrometer reading of my beer, does the tube thing need to be free of floating residue stuff, or can it contain some? The first time I did it, there was quite a bit of gunk in my tube, and now I wonder if that made my numbers accurate or not. Please offer any advice for a new home brewer taking hydrometer readings. Cheers." That's a great question.
Yeah, you don't want gunk on your tube.
You don't want
so.
gunk. That sounds like a 1980s health advisory.
and we don't mind real simple questions. Remember, James isn't on the show today, right? So, yeah. Now, so you're talking about the hydrometer and the tube that you put the hydrometer in. The main thing on the hydrometer is you just want it to be free floating in the tube. And what will affect you, I think, more than anything, more than even your gunk, is air bubbles. So a lot of times you'll get air bubbles that accumulate on the hydrometer. And so what you have to do is spin it a little bit, or even knock it against the side a little bit, get the air bubbles off. Sometimes I have to do that 3 or 4 times and keep trying to get a decent reading, particularly if it's fermented a while. I mean, if it's fermented a while and you're trying to get another reading, a lot of times there'll be a lot of carbonation in there and you'll get bubbles. So that bubbles would be my biggest concern. But getting a nice clean sample is, of course, always better to get a good reading.
And I know, like our friends at Brewer's Friend, they have calculators for adjusting for things like temperature, because that will also affect your reading. Like you can take into account what is the temperature of this when I'm doing the reading. Like there's a lot of factors.
Oh, yeah. And I'm sorry to cut you. No, keep in mind too, while you're talking about that most hydrometers can be rated different. So you may have a hydrometer and it comes with a sheet of paper and it says, these are your corrections from 60 degrees. or 70 degrees, whatever it is. They vary. I think it's 68's the most common, maybe 65. That's where it does the right reading, or that's where they have the zero, and then you have to adjust up or down depending on when your temperature changes, and that can vary between hydrometers as well. So make sure you use the sheet from the hydrometer that you purchased.
Absolutely. And as a man who's gone through many hydrometers, do you right now, are you still using that Kessler, or which hydrometer?
Yep, the Kessler. I have not, it's kind of like sunglasses. I found out that if I spend enough on a hydrometer, I'm a lot more careful with it. Although I did lose my Ray-Bans like 2 years ago.
I was going to say, I remember when you came home from your family European trip with these were like right made. I saw the Italian lady make them. And then when you lost them, it wasn't even 2 years. It was like 2 months. Maybe not 2 months. I'm lying. But it was quick because I remember.
No, it wasn't 5 minutes like most of my sunglasses.
Yeah. Which, by the way, go ahead. No, go ahead.
Oh, no. I my claim to fame in the brewing world is I have broken more hydrometers than any other person that has ever homebrewed. So, yes.
Ever homebrewed. I mean, it is a reason. And we had a delay on our
champion.
Yeah. We gotta make you a trophy. We have a delay on the stickers. Your broken hydrometer sticker is by far the most popularly ordered. It's not just ones that go out to people on our Trub Club at homebrewhappyhour.com/club, but also people order it. And I didn't know we were out. And so I tried ordering 150 more and they got back ordered from our source. So now I'm having to order it from a different source because it's still, everybody's still having supply issues in any given industry. And when you're like, well, what's the delay? They're like, oh, it's COVID. Oh, okay. So it's still COVID is keeping me from shipping out.
You're talking about I like to call it the Todd's an Idiot sticker. Everybody likes that one.
Well, there's two Todd's an Idiot stickers though. There's the one with you looking like a pirate, a B class pirate with the refractometer. You're looking like through.
That's not a Todd's an Idiot. That's Todd is a scientific person looking at the refractometer. Right?
Yeah, my bad. I forgot about that. Back to Michael's question. I think, well, first off,
I thought we already answered.
Well, I just want to wrap it up. Take it easy.
I'm just kidding.
How you are, when you brew and when I've brewed around you, you are the king of always taking temperature and you like the refractometer more than the hydrometer. You're taking readings. Oh, you don't?
Well, I mean, it's different times for different. I mean, I use a refractometer when I'm brewing. I use a hydrometer. Once you get any alcohol in it, you have to use a hydrometer.
Sure.
So,
well, so during a brew day, what I was trying to give, because he is a new brewer and he's starting to brew on his own already, which good for you, Michael. Congratulations. I think that's fantastic. When are you suggesting to Michael the times to take hydrometer readings? Because I'm notoriously bad about I only take them when we're putting in like when it's time to put them in the fermenting bucket is when I take the reading basically right there for hydrometer and I get my numbers. So if I needed to do something to correct the numbers, it's already too late. We're putting it in and we got what we got. When are you taking hydrometer readings so that Michael can do best practices?
Well, and one of the reasons I use a refractometer is when I'm brewing is you don't lose any beer except for a couple of drops. Whereas with a hydrometer, you have to fill the whole tube up. And if you're only doing a 5-gallon batch and you do that 10 times, then you lose a lot of beer because I'm maybe a little embarrassed to say it wouldn't be unusual for me to check it 10 times because it's so easy, with a refractometer. So when I'm brewing, I'm checking to see what the efficiency is. I'm checking, the whole time to see, okay, what's my level now? Should I, at the end, should I add a little water? Should I boil it a little longer to bring it to where I want it to be on an alcohol level standpoint? So, if I was only using a hydrometer, I would probably just do it 1 or 2 times during the, so I definitely want a final gravity reading when I'm finished brewing, or I want a gravity reading when I'm finished brewing. And then I want a reading when I'm ready to keg the beer or bottle the beer.
Me too. That's when we do it.
God forbid.
And God forbid. And that is when my pop and I do it as well. We do it when it's time to start pitching the yeast, and then we do it when fermentation's done. And that way, the one that fermentation being done is to ensure fermentation's done so that we can keg it in confidence. But yeah, I just wanted to, like I said, get that out there for Michael. Thank you so much for submitting the question. And again, I think that's fantastic. He didn't tell me who his buddy is in the Trub Club, but Michael, we'd love to have you too, or anybody. And you can go right now, still only available at patreon.com/homebrew happy hour, or you can go to homebrewhappyhour.com/club for more information on what we do in the Trub Club. Question number 3 from our buddy Sean, using the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Still got foggy brain from the COVID, I think. It's speaking's hard. So Sean wrote, Joshua and gang, listening to Homebrew Happy Hour each week is a real treat and highlight of my commute. Keep up the great work. I'm thinking about diving into the world of electric brewing this holiday season, and I just have one quick question. When you brew on an E-system, do you calibrate your controllers every brew, or is it more or less a one-and-done procedure? My biggest concern with e-brewing is being off on my temperatures, even if it's only by a few degrees. If I'm going to spend some money, I'd like to rely and trust on the tools. Thanks again for everything you fellas do, Sean.
I love this quote. I'm so glad James isn't on the podcast, so I get to answer this. Yeah, I like to. No, I'm kidding, because James and I have a long running joke that maybe I check the settings a little more often than I should.
That's why I kept the question on, because there is no devil's advocate. There's no. You can say whatever you want, and James is just gonna not be able to say anything. I love it.
Yeah, I mean, I think you don't need to calibrate it every time, but it doesn't hurt to check it. So I never trust the temperature that newfangled electric brew thing says. I got to put my good thermometer in there, and I have to see what it says on the thermometer and then see what it says on the display. But keep in mind, you're going to get a different temperature reading everywhere in your kettle, even with agitation and everything. It's going to be, especially when you start getting grain in there, you're going to get a different reading in the middle than you are on the top, than you are on the bottom. You're going to get some variation, which is why on the brow tag, we actually have a temperature gauge on the top and the bottom. When we're doing the mash and the mash tun, we have it on the top and the bottom, so you get both readings. And it's amazing after you start really circulating and doing it well. I love it when they both read the same thing. That shows you true consistency when they're both reading the same thing. And then I stick my thermometer right in the middle and it's reading the same thing. Angels start singing.
But also the people, it's a made in the USA Kessler thermometer analog. Yep. Todd doesn't just switch, because I can see my inbox now where people are like, if he's using a digital thermometer, then what's the difference? No, he's not, friends. And before he got the really nice Kessler one, he had a handful of different ones, because one thermometer is not enough throughout the.
No. You can't trust one.
Todd, you'll be good. Like if you were in the Terminator movies, you would have been great, because from the beginning you would have been like, guys, don't turn on Skynet. Just trust me. Can we trust the machines? I don't think we should. They can help us do what we got to do better, but should we really give them total control? And that it's so funny, because you've brewed on the brow tog, and not as much as James, but a lot of times in between your barn and there at the office. And it's not that you don't trust it. Like you said, though, you are just a stickler for making sure, because you're like Sean, where you don't want to be off on your temperatures. Like what would being off will affect, what can affect a slew of things with how your beer is going to turn out. If you were going over, you might have a much.
Yeah, it could be too sweet, it could be too dry. I mean, yeah. So. Yeah, I mean, always verify. I mean, it doesn't take 10 seconds to stick a thermometer in there and make sure that it's right. And if it's wrong, it's, especially on the brow tag, it's so easy to fix it. I mean, it just takes a few seconds. And the first few times you brew, I mean, now it's always right. I don't ever have to worry about it. But the first few times I brewed, I did some calibration and recalibrated and got on, and now it's always the same.
And I don't remember if it was both videos, if the Homebrew Con or the Brew Day on the Brautag, but if Sean was specifically using the Brautag, James shows how easy it is to adjust calibration on it. And it's a very simple thing. That's one of the selling points in my eyes and what people have given us feedback on that have bought them and received them is how easy it is to use, because there are some, I won't name names, but there was a controller my pop and I used where it was very difficult to go through the whole calibration process. And it's like a 7-minute thing. And when this dot is looking this way, you pee on it. And if you have a negative pregnancy test, then you move on to step 4. And it was a whole slew of things. I'm exaggerating just a little, I think.
Well, no, and you know what? We both know that the reason our controllers are so simple is because of me, because I need simplicity, right? So that's
whoa! I don't know, man. You can work Taplist.io. You don't need simplicity. Okay, you're basically a genius. I don't know.
Yeah, James had a couple of controllers in the beginning, and I was like, "Nope, that's too complicated. I need simpler than that. I need simple."
Yeah, but you are the reason why it's so straightforward. But that's again the biggest complimentary piece of feedback we've gotten on the Brautag is, oh my gosh. It's very straightforward. And I proved that too. I've given you a hard time about not being technological in your abilities, but y'all threw me to the wolves. You go, here's the book. Here, you watched us brew on the system now. And when I would even look at James for help, you'd say, James, do not help him. And he didn't.
No, James can't help it. He has to help. He
wanted
people.
to bad, especially when I opened the valve and had hot wort pouring all over my hand. You didn't even let him help then.
No, I said, let him burn, James. Let him burn. That's the only way he'll learn.
My hand's under there burning, and James is looking at me in horror. He's like, "Do you feel that?" I was like, "What are you talking about?" Oh, hey, it's pouring on my hand. Does it?
And I'm looking at you going, I wonder how long he's going to hold his hand under the boiling water. That's interesting.
Yeah, that was the first sign something was wrong with me, I think. No, if you ask my parents, actually, it was a lot longer ago than that.
Right. Yeah.
But anyway, on an E-system, just to get this out of the way, because he didn't say he's getting a Brautag, I had just started talking about that because that is our experience. But we've also used all-in-ones, and we've used other 3-vessel systems before. All of them, if they're worth their weight, have a way to recalibrate. Now, whether it's easy or not, that's, depends on how you define easy and what system you're using. But rest assured, there's not going to be a system you can't use where you can't calibrate. I don't think. As I'm saying that, I don't remember if the Foundry had a way to calibrate or if Joe and I just adjusted it may not be mutually exclusive because we're both lazy. We may have just gone, oh, it's actually 5 degrees. Whatever it's showing on the board is actually going to be 5 degrees hotter in real life. Therefore, we'll just account for it when we're brewing. I don't remember us trying.
That's a type of calibration, I guess.
Right. Yeah, the lazy man, where instead of trying to figure out, because we did not read the book. That was the funniest thing. When Joe did the unboxing video of the Gen 1 Foundry years ago, he was like, I know what this stuff is. I was like, well, where's the book? We don't know. I don't know if we lost the instruction book or something, but we didn't read it. And, in hindsight, we should read the instructions. But anyway, Sean, I hope you do. Oh, go ahead, Todd. What were you going to say?
Oh, we're men. We don't read instructions.
Yeah, that's what I was going to blame. I didn't want to sound sexist, but it's like, but it fits for me. I don't ask for directions. Well, I don't have to ask for directions. I have a smartphone with apps on it now, but I also don't look for help. When I get IKEA furniture, I'm like, how hard can it be? It's a bookshelf. And then 7 hours later, I'm screaming, why can't I do this? And my wife and kids are crying, in the other room. But anyway, that was divulging way too much information. Sean, thank you so much for submitting your question. We've got one fourth and final question for this week's episode of our podcast. Came from our buddy Lawrence, who also used the submission form at homebrewhappyhour.com. Lawrence wrote, this is a question for Todd, who seems to be the most concerned with clean equipment in the bunch. He's not wrong. I always store unused kegs clean and with a small amount of pressure in them. When I grab one to use for kegging, that's when I sanitize it and then do my transfer. Last weekend, without even thinking about what I was doing, I grabbed a clean keg and began doing my transfer without ever sanitizing it. I didn't realize my error until after I put the keg into my keezer. I can't do anything about it now, or can I? Please tell me I'm overthinking this and that everything will be okay. Knock on wood, I haven't dumped a batch yet, and I'd like to keep the streak going. Lawrence, I am a man. I'm clean. I appreciate cleanliness. I always make sure, don't shake your head at me, Mr. Burns. But he is right though. Of the three of us on the show, you're always the stickler for cleaning your lines. Sometimes every 2 weeks, most of the time every 2 weeks. You never let it go more than 4 weeks. I know that. You're very much a stickler for sanitation as well. Is Lawrence overthinking it, or is there always going to be some amount of bacteria in a keg, even if you store it clean, and it's going to ruin this batch?
Yeah, I mean, so first and foremost, I want to say that I'm not necessarily a clean person. Like, my desk is an absolute mess, but I'm clean and sanitary when I'm brewing because I want the beer to turn out well. I think that you can overdo that, but I've never had a batch of beer that's gone bad because I overdid it. I have had it happen when I probably underdid it in the distant past and learned my lesson. So I am 99 point some other digit sure that his beer will be absolutely fine, because if he cleaned the keg and he's putting beer, it's not wort anymore. It's beer. It's got alcohol in it. I think that he's going to be absolutely fine. He's not going to run into an issue. Is there any chance that he could run into an issue? Yes. I mean, if you had something really nasty in there, but if you got a nice clean keg, we're going to get email about this statement. It's arguable that you really need to sanitize the keg before putting it in there if you've taken care of it. In other words, you've cleaned it very well and you've used fresh water.
I'm gonna slice that part you just said and put it out on our social media, because I want instant gratification for people going, he said what?
Yeah. I mean, but I think you'll be absolutely fine. I'm 99 point something % sure that you'll be fine. And if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But I mean, you should have sanitized it if I'm wrong. I think you'll be fine though. I wouldn't worry about it. I think it's got alcohol in it. Your beer is going to be fine.
Isn't it like 84.6% of statistics made up, right? It's something like that.
Oh, it could be as high as 96.3.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah. That's what I read too in that one study. Yeah. Experts show. I love when you come up with, because when you're so confident, you always go to 99. You're never like, I do the same thing, and I've lost many a $5 bets to you because of that.
Yeah.
Because you'll go, are you sure? I go, Todd, I'm 99% sure. He goes, okay, you want to bet $5? Of course I do. But if I really thought about it and realized, no, I'm actually like 75% sure. Do you want to bet $5? I do, because I'm an idiot, but I shouldn't because I'm an idiot. I agree with everything you just said. This is going to be such a quick episode because I didn't have a whole lot to offer or reboot or rebuke rather, a rebuttal. I agree with you. I believe my dad and I have probably done this before and we didn't even think about it, and the beer turned out fine. Like you said, at that point, I think one of our most watched one of our most watched videos from our old Keg Connection YouTube channel was you doing a secondary transfer. And one of the things that you had mentioned in it that I just remembered from back then and didn't worry too much about, you're like, hey, we're being careful. We're trying not to splash because we don't want oxidation, this or that. But right now we're dealing with beer that has alcohol in it. So like the whole, be clean, be sanitary, but don't stress it. Like, don't worry, because it's going to take a lot for you to ruin your batch at this point.
Well, I'll say this. This is a deal that, since we have a little extra time, I'll tell a short story. I was at a Homebrew Con, I think, one year, or it could have been the Great American Beer Festival, and this guy was freaking out because the person that was with him forgot to sanitize the lines and the faucets that they were pouring the beer from. And I was like, the beer coming from the keg, passing through the hose, coming out of the faucet is not going to pick up a bug and turn before it goes down your throat.
That'd be a heck of a bug. That'd be a heck of a bug.
I'm like, if they cleaned it with nice fresh water, or it was totally dry, by the time they got to that point, I'm like, I think that guy might be overreacting a little bit. You don't really have to sanitize. Like when I clean my beer lines, I clean them thoroughly and do all the solution, and I run clean water through them. I don't then go back and run sanitizer through them. I don't think it's necessary. And if you disagree with me, I'd love to know why. So there you go.
Email tburns@kegconnection.com, because I don't want to be the middleman in between these fights you're picking. Now, but I actually do agree with you though. And when Charlie Papazian's famous line of relax, don't worry, have a homebrew, it's just meaning like, you don't want to be so stressed out during any part of the process that you forget to have fun and enjoy the fruits of your labor. So obviously a nasty infected beer is going to be hard to enjoy, but like you said, storing it clean, he's doing more than most people do already with the keg, I imagine.
Right.
I'm projecting. Well, my dad and I store them clean now. We used to not, and so we'd clean them, then sanitize them, and then transfer. But now, I think it was after that interview with Jonathan Etley that we did from when he was with National Chemicals, where talking about how to store kegs and stuff, where I was like, yeah, it's worth the effort to clean it and add some PSI and then store it, and it probably goes a long way, right? When it comes time to actually use that keg. You're still doing that, or do you not? Because you actually, I don't know how many kegs you even keep stored, since you kind of have an arm's reach.
I probably have 15 or 20 in my house that are stored and cleaned right now. Well, I'm sorry, that are stored and cleaned or have beer in them right now.
Right. So like 15 total kegs.
Yeah, probably closer to maybe more than 20. Yeah, it's more than 20. Yeah.
But you're still doing that though. You're still cleaning them to store them.
Yeah, I clean them and then rinse them out real good. One of the things that I do, it's just a pet peeve of mine. One of the things you'll notice, like even if you buy a keg from Keg Connection, we wash them, we clean them, and then we seal them up, we pressure test them, we send them out. There's always it's almost impossible it's so hard to dry a keg all the way. Like you can turn it upside down and stick it in the sun for half a day and then come and turn it back over and set it down, and liquid will come out of somewhere. Every time. Yeah. So I sometimes I'll do that and then turn it upside down, roll it around a little bit, and then set it back up again and let it sit because I'm doing something else anyway. Right. I'll dry them all the way, because even when we ship clean kegs, even a little bit of that cleaning solution and water on the bottom will sometimes start to smell kind of like Sprite or a sweet smell. And it certainly doesn't hurt anything, but that's what I end up doing, is trying to dry them real good, seal them up, put PSI on them. So they're pretty damn clean. Now I will admit, I do put a little sanitizer in there, and you do sanitize them before I put my beer in. But
before you put the beer in. Yeah.
I don't think it's, I don't, like I said, like we've beaten this question down, but
who doesn't sanitize before they transfer though? Sorry, Lawrence. Sorry. That was my last parting jab.
Sorry, Lawrence, that was uncalled for.
I'll tell you what, Lawrence, the next batch I brew, I'll do that for you, man. Solidarity. I'll take a clean keg and not sanitize it. And I say that, Lawrence, write me at Joshua at Homebrew Happy Hour and let me know how the batch turns out, because then we can have some follow-up and some closure to this. But anyways.
1800 EDC Parkway, send us samples of the beer, and we will tell you if it had any issues. Anybody's always welcome to send samples of their beer.
Homebrew Happy Hour, care of Joshua Stubing, 1800 EDC Parkway, Comanche, Texas, 76442.
Yeah, that's perfect. Anytime I see that, I grab it.
That's why, actually, you know what? Darn it. I shouldn't. I remember that time frame of about 2 years, how pissed I'd get. Mail came that would say Joshua Stubing,
Ooh, I bet this is beer.
Exactly.
I'm gonna take this.
And somebody in the office would always open it. And when I'd get there, I'd be like, Fred or Nancy or whomever it was, why'd you open it? Oh, we always open every piece of mail. But it was a package with my name on it. We always open every piece of mail. But it said my name on it.
But you do realize that 90
make up a percentage.
85% of all the packages that come to us say Todd Burns on them.
Yeah, but the ones that say,
and they open all of them. I don't ever, they never bring them to me and say, hey, this is a package for you. So you think you're special and we don't open yours? Correct. It's not going to happen.
I do think I'm special, but that's part of the problem. I'm a millennial. I'm a snowflake. I'm learning, spending so many years with you that I'm not special. I'm not. But
oh, you are special.
Anyway, Lawrence, thank you so much for submitting the question. Todd, that's all I've got for this week. I appreciate you doing it. James is.
It's good to be back. I really enjoyed it.
What do you want to do next week? I don't want to do another solo show, and y'all leave on Wednesday, don't you?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it Tuesday because we'll all be here Tuesday.
Okay, if I'll just say because we're off Monday, so I'd rather us all be on it again. So we'll do it Tuesday. And then I'll publish this probably Wednesday or at least on time on Thursday since we had a week off. But I appreciate your time, sir, and I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you. Take care, everyone.
Likewise. And that will do it for this episode of the Homebrew Happy Hour. If you have a question you would like us to discuss on a future episode, go to homebrewhappyhour.com and click on that submit a question link at the top of the page. Or now you can call or text them in by using 325-305-6107. Thank you to our show sponsor, Taplist.io, the best option for professionally displaying your Taplist menu at home. Go try it out for free right now at Taplist.io, and you can see what we have on tap by checking out the link in the show notes. On behalf of Todd Burns, the absent James Carlson, and the Pearl Media Network, I'm Joshua Stubing. Thank you for listening.